Hello, how are you? Welcome to the Spurge Chavan Gamer channel. As we all know, I'm back again after a long time, and I've been working on my next project as I already posted on the YouTube community. Also, I've been having some hard time during this while making the video and my personal issues. I'm going through from lots of personal issue which I somehow able to resolve it from my strong determination. Yesterday, the video about I thought I should upload the video earlier. उससे पहले ही मुझे अपलोड करना चाहिए था. But until my light, my electricity suddenly cut off. I mean turns off. I don't know. It's happened very suddenly, and I didn't had any reaction to react on it. Not a time to react on it. So when it came, I see a window notification suddenly pop out in my display and saying occurrence error in my video. The file has been either compromised, means corrupted or missing, which, as you all know, it happens due to when the light cutoffs, and that one was edited though. So yesterday God wasn't on my side. None of the things go according to my plan. Everything has been messed up yesterday. And also I watched One Punch Man episode. Yaar, come on yaar, please. I shouldn't mention this series name. Earlier I thought this would be far better than Solo Leveling, but animation, ba 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 ba. Earlier I was trying to defend JC Staff because I seen plenty of JC Staff animes, which ones and including OG's ones like Torodoro, Maiden Sama. All of these I watch is romance, and some of are action. For example, Damachi and Railgun. Apparently, I'm watching Railgun for now because I'm gathering some study source from this anime, so I can use it for argument for defending JC Staff. For this shit, for now, I wouldn't support him. Rather, I will demand him to remake not remake, remaster the version itself, because the remake unlikely would happen. And no wonder why these studios like Mappa, You Affordable, Bones, willingly withdraw from this project because the deadlines which were given by Bandai Namco, yeah, I know. Bandai Namco is the main culprit behind of this situation. But JC Staff is indirectly blamed for it. Someone says, so what? JC Staff accept the project. Isn't it their fault? I mean, JC Staff trained to be survive. They are surviving studio. They have to accept the project regardless of all. Otherwise, none of the production studio would work with them. And at this rate, if this goes on, they would eventually blacklist on the anime histories. Anime history is very hard, difficult, man. It's like a dark history, man. If the studio is popular or on the overseas, they only get praise by them. If aren't, instead of praising, they get criticized. This is the problem came from the budget, deadline, minimum payment. I mean, season 3 was a beyond peak, man. The only reason season 3 was peakest because of the top tier freelancer and legendary director Shingen Nakatsume and top tier freelancers. I mean, they only had a 1 year to animate, probably 1 year or 1.5 years to animate season 1. with the same budget like season 3 had have. The only difference is JC Staff, unlike season 1, JC Staff has been limited in many things. For example, time, budget, creative credibility, and lots of rust pacing, which leading to worse pacing, animation stiffness. Yeah, people aren't questioning about the art style, rather they're questioning about the animation, which I do agree. Half I halfly just I halfly agree with their justification and halfly not. Partly, sorry. So shall we begin? So what we were doing? Yeah. So on Monday, I posted a comment regarding the why Saitama and Cosmic car is beyond the tiering system, power scaling logic. One of the fans said me, a fan, which I follow him, they are not beyond the tiering system, which I know. But when I read the manga very closely, with a thorough intention, I realized people downplay One Punch Man way too much. Murata is so genius to blend those things with his art style plus actual laws of physics. I can't imagine that. So, okay, let's move on to the next topic. Absolute evil. But before that, let's proceed with the first topic before proceed with the main topic. We shall proceed with the first topic instead of main topic. ऐसे ही ना. What is fundamental forces? Four fundamental forces we know: strong nuclear force, electromagnetism force, weak nuclear force, and gravity. Strong nuclear forces. What is strong nuclear force? स्ट्रॉन्ग न्यूक्लियर फोर्स एक स्ट्रॉन्गेस्ट फोर्स है नेचर में. उसका काम क्या है कि वो एटॉमिक न्यूक्लियस क्रिएट करता है, बाइंड बनाता है, एक कनेक्शन बनाता है. तो उनका जो फोर्स कैरियर जो रखता है ना, वो ग्लूऑन है. वो प्रॉपर्टी का कलर चार्ज, मोस्टली इलेक्ट्रिक चार्ज है, जो मीडिएट करता है, मेंटेन करता है. एंड ब्लू मेंटेन द फोर्स बिटवीन देम, मेंटेन करता है, सस्टेन रखता है. The force is so strong it's virtually impossible to find isolated cores. They are always confined in composite particles like protons and neutrons. Binding the atomic nucleus, it acts as a residual force between protons and neutrons to hold the atomic nucleus together. This is crucial because the positively charged protons strongly repel each other due to electromagnetic force. A strong force must overcome this immense repulsion to keep the nucleus stable. Mediate. See, I started my work around 21 of November and ended with 23. A nuclear force is a powerfully attractive but has extremely short range. It is only significant over distance the size of atomic nucleus. Few femtometer, 10 power raised to -5. It is rapidly dropped to zero outside the small boundary. This is a method which can be described as SFL nature through mathematical framework QCD, quantum chromodynamic. वही core of the ये part is standard model मतलब quantum field theory describe the interaction between fundamental particles, electron ये सब कुछ that made up protons and neutrons. Key protons and neutrons concept. Strong charge color. In QCD, the force is based on types of charge called color charge, which has nothing to do with visible color. Invisible, transparent. The constituents of protons and neutrons carry one of three colors: red, green, or blue. Antiquarks carry anti-colors: anti-red, anti-green, or anti-blue. Strong force required at all observable particles called hadrons, like protons and neutrons, must be color neutral or white, meaning the combination of their quarks must cancel out to neutral color state. Force carrier gluons. The force is mediated by force carrying called gluons. Unlike photon, carrier of electromagnetism, foreshadowing, gluons themselves carry the color. खुद से ही करते हैं. The combination color and anti-color. This allows gluons to interact with each other, which lead to a unique behavior of strong nuclear force. Confinement astomism. Asymptotic freedom. Unique property of gluon carry color leads to two counterintuitive effect. Color confinement. Strong low energy does not weaken with the distance. मतलब मेरे कहने का मतलब है, मैंने जो भी explain किया, whatever I explained in my previous slide, it's actually based on Garov's power. Garov's power is understanding and control over all fundamental forces in the universe. यूनिवर्स मैकेनिज्म वो कैसे काम करता है, बिहेवियर, और जो फंडामेंटल फोर्स मैथमेटिक्स ही एक्सप्रेस करता है. मतलब गारो को बिना मैथमेटिक्स सॉल्व किए उसको ही पता है क्या है. मतलब वो यूनिवर्स को मैथ्स की तरह देखता है. हिज इंट्यूशन एक्सटेंड टू मैथ्स ऑफ यूनिवर्स. इसको हाइपोथेसिस भी बोलते हैं, विच आई गोना एक्सप्लेन ऑन सून. कुछ ही देर में, सून आफ्टर दैट. यूनिक प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ कैरिंग कलर लिस्ट. हाँ वही 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 वीक नहीं रहता. स्ट्रॉन्ग फोर्स वीक नहीं रहता डिस्टेंस के साथ. जब हम खींचते तो वह खींच के अलग करते कोर्स को, तो दोनों की फोर्स का जो फोर्स है ना, बीच का जो फोर्स है वो स्ट्रांग होते जाता है. वो एक रबर बैंड जैसा अनंत से भी, अनंत से वही अनंत इन्फाइनाइट. हाँ, बिकॉज ऑफ दिस कोर्स आर ऑलवेज फाउंड bound up inside the color neutral hadron and can never be observed in isolated. High energy at very short distance. High energy. The strong force became very weak, allowing the quartz and glue inside the protons and neutrons to behave almost as free particles. What is electromagnetic force? That shit right is the most important. Electromagnetic force is one of the four fundamental forces of nature that is interaction and occurs between electrically charged particles. It is a unified force that describes all phenomena involving both electricity and magnetism. Key characteristics of the electromagnetic force. The force carrier. The force is mediated by the photon, the particle's light, which is exchanged between charged particles. Like charge, two positive and negative repel each other. खट, जैसे कि देख रहा है आपको, ये सब रिपेल हो रहा है, लेकिन ये रेड और ब्लू है, इसलिए ये हो रहा है. मैग्नेटिक इफेक्ट अगर पता तो, मैग्नेटिक इफेक्ट इलेक्ट्रिक करंट. Opposite charge, one positive and negative attract each other. Strong range, strength and range. It is much stronger than a gravitational force, but weaker than strong nuclear force. It has infinite range, although its strength decreases rapidly with the square of distance. It follows inverse square law. ऊपर से नीचे, नीचे से ऊपर. Electric force acting on static charge and magnetic force acting on a moving charge. वही are two aspects of single unification of electromagnetic force, responsible for almost every force that we experience in daily life. This is an important one. So let's move on to the next slide. Quantum is a relativity quantum field theory of the electromagnetic force. It is the most accurately tested theory in all of the physics, and Richard Feynman famous to call it jewels of physics for its incredible predictive power. QED provide a complete comprehensive mathematical description of how light and matter interact, specifically how electricity charge. वो ये मैथ्स के थ्रू, गणित के थ्रू बताता है लाइट और पार्टिकल्स कैसे बिहेव करते हैं. जैसे कि वे पार्टिकल्स डुअलिटी, पार्टिकल एग्जिबिट नहीं रहते, वो बता एक्सप्लेन करता है क्लाउड्स ऑफ प्रोबेबिलिटी में. खासकर तो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी चार्ज जो पार्टिकल्स लाइक इलेक्ट्रो पोस्ट इंटरेक्ट विद अनदर बाय एक्सचेंजिंग photons like light particles which also present on the outer space, space, infinitely countless. Fundamental ideas of QED replace the classical concept of electric field with exchange force. Exchange नहीं होता, वो opposite charge ये नहीं होता. Instead of charge feeling continue field from the another charge as classical physics field, QED stated that a force arises from exchange of virtual photons Virtual photon is a quantum quantum of the electromagnetic field that exists only for very short time. Maintaining the interaction ensuring the momentum and energy are conserved. Relativity quantum field theory. Quantum field theory, sorry. QED was the first theory to successfully merge the two great revolutionary of 20th century physics. Quantum mechanics describe the behavior of particles at atomic and subatomic level. Describe the physics at very high velocity. In QED, particles are treated as excitation of quantum field. Electrons is an excitation of electric field. Photons is excitation of electromagnetic field. All interaction and local meeting particle and field interact at single point in space time. जैसे दिख रहा है तुमको, ये सब ये वेव से फोटोन से बोल रहा, फोटोन से. Richard Feynman, very important and very crucial for Gauss's power. Crucial tool in QED is used for Feynman diagram invented by Richard Feynman. I know I'm not pronouncing their names quietly right. काफ़ी अच्छा एक pronounce नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ. I'm pronouncing their name rather type like a typo, but try to understand. Just cooperate with me for a long, just for at the end of the slide, till the end. Sorry, just cooperate with me till the end. I just woke up in the early morning and I directly proceed with my open the setup and started recording the video with along with my explanation about the four fundamental forces. Key component of QED diagram. The probability interaction is calculated by summing the contribution of all possible Feynman diagrams. Certain histories include those very complex and temporary loop of virtual particles that have same initial final state. Success and renormalization QED is removed for its prediction of extreme precision, most notably anomalous magnetic movement of electron. QED's prediction match experimental result to more than 10 significant lamp shift figures. Remarkable achievement. Sorry. The small difference is energy between two hydrogen atom state. 2s of half and 2p half. The classical and early quantum mechanics couldn't explain. अच्छा. Renormalization problem. Initially, शुरुआत में starting मैथमेटिकल फ्रेमवर्क इस पॉइंट में ये करता है सबमिट infinite result which calculating high order process diagram with loops. The major breakthrough by famous Skachwinger and Tomonaga in the later 1940s was proposed of renormalization. This technique systematically observes the infinities into definition of physically observable quantity like electron mass and charge, resulting in finite and predictive theory. Wavelength की बात कर रहे हैं, wave function of quantum mechanics. Column sequence of Feynman diagram along with the Lorentz force law and Maxwell equation, जैसे कि तुम देख रहे हो. I know I'm yawning. उबासी ले रहा हूँ मैं. My eyes are also feeling slippery sort of, but still I try my best to waking myself through pinching by pitching to me self. मैं कोशिश कर रहा हूँ जगने की, और जगने के लिए मैं खुद को चुमटी में काट रहा हूँ. I'm trying my best to wake up at any cost because I'm feeling so slippery right now. So in order to wake up, I pinch myself for this. I pinch to me. Mathematical framework for electromagnetic force in classical field is built upon two pillars: Maxwell equation and Lorentz force law. Well, before we proceed with force law and Maxwell, first of all, let me wrap up this column. Electron positron, straight line with the arrow. It also works like as a temporal order at a quantum level. quantum represent charged matter particles. Fermions, oh shit, wavylets seen in the introduction part of QED represent the force carrier. Boson, point where the three line meets, represent the fundamental interaction the electron, positron emits or absorbs the protons. Photon itself describe the total force acting on the point particles with electric charge moving with velocity through external electric field and magnetic field. Equation shows the total magnetic field. Maxwell equation. Namlo C dot fraction rho epsilon. Electric field lines originate for positive charge rho and terminate on negative charge. Gauss law for magnetism. Namla C2. Magnetic field lines are continuous, no magnetic monopoles exist. Control. Namla time fraction partial B and partial T. Half B and half T. Magnetic field and time. Time changing magnetic field create induce an electric field. Ampere Maxwell law. Wait. Namla time B mu O. Mars. Initial Mars and final. Okay. Epsilon 0 fraction partial E and partial tau. Magnetic field are generated by electric current J joules and time charging electric field the displacement current terms mu and epsilon O fraction partial E and partial T. अभी मैक्सवेल की बारी है. मैक्सवेल आर सेट ऑफ 4 कुप्ड पार्शियल डिफरेंस. मैक्सवेल एक 4 मन के एक पार्शियल डिफरेंस है. हाफ डिफरेंशियल इक्वेशन जो है डिस्क्राइब करता है इलेक्ट्रिक और फील्ड कैसे जनरेट करते हैं चार्ज और इसमें और कैसे इस उन दोनों का संबंध कैसा है रिलेशन. दे गवर्न द बिहेवियर ऑफ फील्ड E and B that appear in Lorentz force law as we discussed in earlier slide. In a differential form describe the field as a point in space. Electric field, magnetic field is electric density, joule, epsilon is primitive of space and mu is a primitive of free space. Derivative framework. For elegant and complete description, especially when dealing with the high-speed special wave theory, the electric and magnetic field unified into single mathematical object, electromagnetic field tensor, F half mu and nu. In this framework, Maxwell four vectors equation reduced to two tensor equation, one inhomogeneous and one homogeneous. Lorentz force law written in covariant form 4 force where P half ये एक momentum है for momentum and tau is a proper time and the U and U is a for velocity initial or final. This derivative formulation highlights the electricity and magnetism are simply different manifestation of same electromagnetic field observed differently depending on the observer relative motion. This is crucial. This image represents for most basic Feynman diagram in quantum electrodynamics, which illustrates the electromagnetic repulsion between two electrons. Breakdown of I diagram. A straight line with arrow represents the charged matter particles, fermions. In this case, they are two electrons. The arrow depicts the direction of electron travel or negative charge flow in time, space-time. Wavelength represents the force carrier particles, boson, which is the virtual photon. The exchange of this virtual photon mediates the electromagnetic force. The incoming electrons enter from the left bottom left line. Electron emits a virtual photon at the bottom vertex where a straight line and wavy line meet. This is the and virtual travel across diagram. The other incoming electron top left absorbs the virtual photon at the top vertex. ये ऐसा वाला सेम ही है. Corresponding, both electrons are reflected, resulting outgoing lines on the right, which represent the force repulsor acting between them. जैसे देख रहे हो, Feynman diagram is a pictorial representative complex mathematical expression used in quantum field theory to describe the interaction of subatomic particles. Invented by physicist Richard Feynman provide a powerful visual aid for help for both conceptualizing and calculating particle interaction. They represent. Feynman diagram is not a little picture of particles moving in physical space, but rather it is a representation of contribution to probability amplitude with the wave function of quantum process. Like two electrons scatter off each other, spin up, spin down. Typically, one axis often horizontal represents space, and other often vertical represent time, usually flowing from bottom to or top left to the right. Initial final state. Incoming particles are shown on the one side and outgoing particles result of interaction is shown on the other. Multiple possibilities. Because of human quantum mechanics, it detects that the process can happen in many different ways. Schrödinger equation मतलब superposition का the total probability is found by summing the amplitude calculated from all possible Feynman diagram that connect the initial and final state. जो कि गारो ने किए हैं, गारो ने explicitly किया है, गारो ने खुद का मैथ्स की which I gonna explain later. कुछ ही देर में बताऊंगा, कुछ ही soon after that. Okay, weak nuclear force. Weak nuclear force or weak interaction is one of the four fundamental force or nature. Unlike strong electromagnetic force, it does not bind particles together to form a stable structure. Instead, it represents is for decay and transmission of some of the particles. Coarse characteristics. Paper chart. Okay. Color बस इसी the favorite चीज कर दो. Okay. Weak force is unique because it's the only force that can change the favor or course and lepton. Fundamental particles of matter. Reality. Building blocks of reality. It allows the up quartz to change into down quartz or vice versa. Lepton. It allows electrons to change into electron neutrino as Y phase. This transformation is what causes an atom to change its element or decay radioactively. Short range and weaknesses. Range. Weak force operate over extremely short range, about 10 power raised to 18 minus meter, which is less than 0.1% of diameter of photon. Weakness. It is significantly weaker than both the electromagnetic and strong force, which is where it gets its name. Its short range and weaknesses are directly related to its force carrier. Force carrier W and Z bosons. Force weak interaction is mediated by three types of gauge boson, which is exceptionally massive. Here we have the diagram. Enormous mass of W and Z bosons, each nearly 100 times mass of the photons, is responsible for extremely short range of weak force as per the rules of quantum mechanics. Radioactive beta, crucial role in universe. I have to explain regardless of all. कुछ भी हो जाए, no matter what. Unrelated mechanics for beta weak. Beta minus. For information, I woke up in early morning, 4 p.m. And woke up early morning. I immediately sat on my chair and started explaining the all fundamental forces, which immediately decay into electrons and anti-neutrino. This is the atomic nuclei by 1. The photons beta plus decay, beta plus decay. Ouch! Proton transform into neutrons by emitting W plus of which decay into positron, anti-electron, electron neutrino. This increases the atomic number by 1. Acha. The weak force is absolutely essential for a process that power stars, including our sun 28 times. In the first step of proton change, the weak force convert two protons into deuterium nucleus, जो कि पता है, positron and the neutrino. What is electron weak force? Unification force and symmetry. That's a crucial. It's a successful theory that combined two of the four fundamental forces, an electromagnetic force and weak nuclear force, into single unified force. Electroweak force. This theory developed by Sheldon Glashow, Al- Aldous Sullivan, and Steven Weinberg. Control Spurge. You mustn't slip during the explanation. Feel slippery. Electroweak unification. At extremely high energy, above approximately 10 joules, the energy, gallons. I don't know how to pronounce the GeV. If you know, please let yourself know through AI. Greater than 10 power is to 15 Kelvin, such are those present in the very early universe. पहले quartz epochs. Electromagnetic and weak force are distinguished. Single unified interaction described by single electroweak force. Fundamental symmetry. Three based on mathematical symmetry group known as SU2 type, U1. SU2 is associated with the weak interaction property called weak isospin. U1 is associated with property called weak hypercharge. Massless boson. In this symmetry, high energy state, the theory predict four massless force carrier boson. Three boson related to SU2, V1, V2, and V3. Boson related to U1 and B. Unity of two forces hidden at a low energy which observed to be due to mechanism for spontaneous symmetry breaking, made up a Higgs mechanism. A Higgs field permeated all of a space. Its associated potential energy is shaped like Mexican hand. A central peak with a circular throw around it. A ground state of vacuum expectation value V of the Higgs field settled into a throw, not symmetric peak. Because this ground state is not invariant under the original SU2 time and U1 symmetry. And symmetry spontaneous broker. अचानक broke करते रहते. Okay. The symmetry breaking fundamentally changed the nature of four original massless bosons. Three bosons acquire mass. Three of the four bosons interact strongly with the non-zero background Higgs field and essentially absorb the component of field. This interaction gave the mass to the weak force. Higgs field का काम ही वही है. The symmetry breaking fundamentally changed the nature of four original massless boson. Sorry. I was carried away during the reading. So, what we were explaining? Yeah, second point. I was carried away due to my slippery nature. You know, I'm not being lazy. It just happened that I woke up way too early. W1 and W2 combined to form a charged massive. W plus and W minus boson. MW approximately energy, and MW3 and B boson speed of light. Aluminum. Okay, gamma. The other combination of symmetry W3 and magnetic current field remained massless and became photon gamma, the carrier of electromagnetic force. Unbroken symmetry. The spontaneous breaking of large SU2 times U1. Symmetry leaves a smaller residual symmetric intact, U1 EM, which is the gauge symmetry of ordinary electromagnetic force, QED. The U1 EMF is a symmetry of massless photon. This process explains why the weak force is short range due to massive WS and W and Z boson. Electromagnetic force is long range due to massless photon, even though they are fundamentally unified. The relationship between particles defined by Weinberg angle or weak mixing angle theta. Tan theta is equal to G. At very high energy like those shortly after Big Bang, the weak force and electromagnetic force are no longer distinct but are unified into single electroweak force. Furthermore, the weak interaction is the only fundamental force that violates the p parity symmetry and charge parity symmetry, which is critical for us explaining why universe contain more matter than antimatter. It is a crucial step towards a grand unified theory that would also unify the strong force and ultimately theory of everything. Unify only that would include gravity. What is gravitational force? And the least and the most crucial part of my topic. Gravitational force. So gravity is a fundamental interaction which all things with mass and energy are attracted to one another. It's the weakest of four fundamental force, but he has infinite range. But it's dominated the gravity at the large scale. So classical description. For everyday non-revolutive applications, speed much less than speed of light. Gravity is accurately described by Sir Isaac Newton laws of. I wrote it myself. Laws of universe gravitation. Always attractive. Gravity is always the force of attraction. It's only pull object together and never pull them back apart. अलग नहीं करता. Mass dependency. The force is directly proportional to products of two interacting mass, m1 and m2, Mars 1 and Mars 2. Inverse square law. The square is inversely proportional, small amount, to the square of distance r and between the center of two masses. Infinite range. The force extends infinitely, although it's weakening rapidly with distance. Formula: magnitude of gravitational force between 2 points mass is given by F is equal to G fraction m1 and m2 upon is equal to a radius square r square. G is a universal constant, approx 6.667 times 10 power raised to minus 1 and n. Newtonian law, net force, C code m square and kg square. A fixed value everywhere in the universe. R is the distance between center of the two objects, radius. Modern description: gravity. Most important. General theory of relativity, published by Albert Einstein in 1915 in the modern geometry theory of gravitational. Is fundamentally changed the understanding of gravity from the force acting between mass. Newtonian view to consequences of mass energy curving the fabric of 4D dimension. The space-time. Core concept of general theory. Gravity is space-time curvature. Geometry. GR position, mass, energy, momentum determine the geometry of space-time. Massive objects like stars and planets locally wrap or curve the surrounding space-time. Other objects, including light, simply follow the straightest possible path or geodesy through his curved space-time. This curved path is what we perceive as a force of gravity. Equivalency principle. This is the foundation idea of GR. It stated that locally it's impossible to distinguish between effect of gravity and effect of constant acceleration. A person in a freely falling elevator accelerating downward due to gravity will feel weightless, experiencing the same physics as person floating uniformly in deep space. Conversely, a person standing in the accelerating rocket in the space experiences the force distinguished from gravity. This principle implies that free fall is actually inertial motion, unforced motion along the geodesy. Space-time is a Lorentzian manifold. GR is a formulated within this mathematical framework of different gravity. Gravity geometry, where the space-time is modeled as Lorentzian manifold. Mathematical equation and generalization of Flat-Minkowski space-time used in general theory. जनरल नहीं बोल रहा मैं, स्पेशल रिलेटिविटी थ्योरी, मैथमेटिक्स ऑफ जीआर. Core of the general theory set of 10 couped nonlinear partial differential halfly differential equation known as Einstein field theory. They often summarize as this equation is the relationship between geometry of spacetime left side and the matter energy contained with its right side. Einstein tensor represents the curvature of spacetime. It is derived from metric tensor and derivatives. Stress, energy, momentum tensor. Stress means the position, energy, momentum. Represents distribution of mass and energy including momentum, pressure and stress. वही force upon energy, the energy बोल रहा area and stress that cause a curvature. Proportionality constant that relate to geometry and material side of equation. G is a Newton constant, C is the speed of light. देख सकते हो तुम. Variants and alternative of general theory. Gravity, generalizing EFE, Einstein field theory equation, replacing the recent scalar R in the action with more general function. So, try to explain the accelerating expansion of universe dark energy without inventing a new field. Scalar tension theory, branch decay theory, introduce the scalar field in addition to tensor field of GR that imitate the gravity and determine the value of gravitational constant G. Attempt to better incorporate the Mach principle, mass influence the inertia, and potentially unify the gravity with other force. अच्छा, Mach. Revealing Mond. Tensor vector scalar theory developed by Bekenstein's relative expansion of modified Newtonian dynamics aimed to explain the observer rotation curve of galaxy without evoking dark matter. String theory or loop gravity. No alternative classical theory but frame for quantum gravity that seek to replace GR at a smaller scale, net length, resolve incompatibility between GR and standard model particle physics. मतलब वही quantum theory, special theory. Most, and I'm not explaining the similarity of relative because it's gonna extend my video further और बढ़ाएगा duration. It's gonna extend my duration of the video further. Special theory is a groundbreaking theory developed by Einstein, and general theory was generalization of special theory. Only is that it includes the gravity for geometry, while special absence of gravity, flat space-time, revolutionizing our understanding of space and time, mass and energy. It's built upon two fundamental postulates of special theory. Laws of physics are same for all observer in the all inertial frame of reference. The inertial frame is one that is not accelerating. This means if you perform an experiment in uniformly moving spaceship, this will be the same if you perform in a stationary lab on Earth. Assume Earth is also inertial frame. Principle of constancy of speed of light. Speed of light in vacuum denoted by C. 3 per meter per second is the same for all inertial observer, regardless of motion of light source. This is a radical departure from classical physics where velocity simply add or subtract. Consequences. Not quite familiar with those derivative, and neither I'm interested. No, I'm quite interested. I'm a kind of math student, but the thing is, I'm not willing to. And I'm also feeling slippery right now. And explain the derivative while slippery mode. This isn't my type. I will explain afterwards. Before that, let me explain time dilation. This is direct consequences of simultaneity through thought experiment. Time pass more slowly for object that is moving relative to observer. Proper time, delta t, comma, is a time interval measured by observer at a rest with respect to the event. Light clock on the train. The dilate time, delta t, is a time interval measured by the observer in a different inertial frame. Length contraction. Length of object moving relative to the observer is measured to be shorter along the direction of motion than its length measured in its own rest frame. You know, this is incorrect. We need to be careful with this one. Okay, Lorentz transformation. These are the set of equations that describe how coordinates and velocity transform between two inertial framework moving at constant relative velocity. They replace the Galilean transformation of classical mechanics. Let S be a stationary frame and S be the moving frame moving and velocity V along the positive x-axis relative to the S. इसे तुम देख रहे हो. नॉट अ गुड आइडिया. समझा मेरे को क्या किया उन्होंने, लेकिन मैं एक्सप्लेन नहीं करने वाला. ये बिंदी है इन दोनों का, ये करने का सीधा मोशन ओनली एंगल ये बाद में ये ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन लीनियर होना चाहिए. डिस्टर्ब है क्लासिकल लिमिट. उसको क्वाड्रेटिक इक्वेशन क्रूशियल है. If train moves, v1. If train moves and a person walk on a train in the same direction, their speed related to the ground is especially the different rules to ensure that no speed exceeds the luminum light. C. Relativity mass. Distance of train and time interval.
A few moments later. A few moments later.
I was trying to calculate the derivative simplify approach, but I really having hard time with this one. In the classical physics, sorry, you know, in classical mechanics, momentum is equal to mass multiplied by velocity or energy acceleration. Especially for momentum to be conserved in all inertial frame, the mass must effectively increase with velocity. Or more accurately, we define the momentum derivative heuristic using time dilation. Consider a collision where the classical momentum is conserved. If we use this collision from a moving frame, due to the time dilation, the velocity of particles will change. To maintain the momentum conservation in the relativity framework, we need to adjust the definition of momentum. Except the relativity framework, momentum is यो गामा ये सब कुछ ये where the m is the rest mass invariant mass and v to c is gamma to the infinity, so momentum is approach infinity. This implies the infinity force required to accelerate the object with the rest mass to the speed of light. Mass equivalent, this is perhaps the most famous result. E is going to study the mass energy are equivalent and convertible. For mass the rest distance of momentum and distance of time is equal to distance and upon distance of time बाद में relativity momentum. यह मुझे खुद से करना पड़ेगा. I can't explain through the PPT. I have to solve it on my own, which I did, but I forgot. Space time interval, ये तो और भी important है. One of the most profound aspect of SR is the unification of space and time into single four-dimensional entity called space-time. Lorentz transformation preserved a quantity called space-time interval. x1 x2 ये सब तुम पढ़ लो बाकी का. टाइम लाइन इंटरवल, This means the light light time traveled, which travel in time. Light travel is a square plus b square delta x square plus y square plus z square. There is enough time for light signal. Why light signal traveled to between event and massively object could potentially travel between them. Their access and initial frame where the two events occur at the same spatial location 0. Okay, and ये elapse for observer moving hue. This means ये the 0 is greater than s2 square. When s is less than 0. This means the gamma square is less than s square plus y square plus z square. The spatial separation is too great for light signal to travel between event in a given time. Sorry guys, मैं अभी चुप में हूँ. No causal connection is possible. There is an initial framework where the two events occur at the same time. Proper length ये है. Is the actual distance between event is frame equal. This means the only light or other massless particles can travel between these events lies on each other. Quantum mechanics, which is apparently not necessary. मैं इतना भी एक्सप्लेन नहीं करने वाला हूँ. मैंने बस बनाया था फॉर माई स्टडी, केस स्टडी. ये यू मस्ट अंडरस्टूड दिस वन, दिस सम मैथमेटिकल रूल्स. State of system, wave function. State of quantum mechanics system at a given time is completely described by wave function or state vector. Hilbert space भी बोलते हैं उसको. PSI, R or T for a single particle in 3D, which is the complex value function of particle's position, and R and time. Every major physical quantity observed in quantum mechanics corresponds to unique Hermitian linear operator acting on the wave function. Measurement in wave value. When the measurement observer had A is made on the system in state PSI, the only possible outcome are in-game value operator. In-game value equation. The A P n is equal to A and P pi नहीं है, with the A and n and is here. इसकी पोजीशन, मोमेंटम, वे तो एच है, ये एच मतलब ये है ना प्लेनिक लॉ है, इज अ रिड्यूस प्लेनिक कांस्टेंट. काइनेटिक एनर्जी, पोटेंशियल एनर्जी, टोटल एनर्जी, एंगुलर एनर्जी, downward delta. Quantized, this postulate naturally explains the discrete quantized nature of energy level to be instant, which is not वही wave function collapse projection postulate. Immediate after measurement, okay, expectation value. If the system is in and state PSI, the probability of obtaining particular eigenvalue when measuring the A ampere is Cn square, where the Cn are coefficient with the PSI expand in terms of engaged or IM hat. More generally expectation value वही wave function बोल रहा. The wave function of system instantly collapse or project onto corresponding engaged function. This postulate describes the effect of measurement, but the process of wave function is still subject to much debate and different interpretation. Time evolution, ये तो और important है. Time evolution of wave function PSI of RT is governed by a time dependent Schrödinger equation, where H is a Hermitian operator system. It's a central equation of quantum mechanics analogous to Newton's second law in classical mechanics. Momentum, conservation probability. Schrödinger equation may ensure the total probability of finding particles remain 1 over time. Stationary state, time independent causal equation. A system where potential energy V does not explicitly depend on time. We can separate variable, substituting it into time dependent. ये Heisenberg important है. Werner Heisenberg, possibly one of the most famous principles of quantum. It's fundamentally impossible to know with perfect precision certain pairs of complementary physical properties of particles simultaneously. Position, movement, uncertainty. Delta x and delta px g fraction h bar Planck law, where delta x is uncertain in position and h p x uncertainty. तुम पढ़ लो uncertainty के बारे में. Wave particle duality. Also perform and counter institution concerning quantum mechanics. Particle like electron exhibit wave-like particles. Property: diffraction, interference, and wave like light and exhibit the particle-like properties. Photon electric effect. They are neither purely waves or not purely particle, but pose aspect of both. Quantum tunneling. In classical physics, particles need uniform energy to overcome the potential energy barrier, store energy. In quantum, if a particle encounter a barrier, there is no non-zero probability. That is, can tunnel through a barrier even the energy is less than the barrier height. A wave function of particles does not abruptly become zero at the barrier. It decays the exponentially within the barrier, and if the barrier is thin, the enough portion of wave function can emerge on the other side, implying the probability of particles being formed there. Application: alpha decaying scanning the tunnel microscopic STM semiconductor device, maybe zero point energy or quantum vacuum fluctuation. Quantum superposition. Quantum system exists can exist in superposition of multiple states simultaneously until measure force. It is choose of one state. Electron can be in superposition of spin and spin down state until spin is measured. A famous thought experiment illustrating the bizarre nature of superposition at a macroscopic level, where a cat can simultaneously dead and alive until observed. Quantum entanglement. When two or more particles become entangled, they form a single quantum system and their fates are linked. No matter how far apart they are, measuring a property, one of the entangled particles instantly influences the state of others, even if they are light year apart, regardless of distance. मतलब which also break the wallet स्पेशली थ्री. फिक्शन में बात कर रहा हूँ, रियल लाइफ में पॉसिबल नहीं है क्योंकि नॉन लोकल है वो, लेकिन ये स्पूकी एक्शन डिस्टेंस. आइंस्टाइन was skeptical of this, but experiment have confirmed entanglement. कंप्यूटर यूज करता है वो हमेशा, गारो वही इसकी तरीके से यूज करता है. दिस इज नॉट नेसेसरी फॉर नाउ, नॉट दिस वन आइदर. ये इंपॉर्टेंट है. Theory of everything is a hypothetical single coherent theoretical framework of physics that aims to explain and link together all fundamental physical aspects of the universe into one comprehensive model. Garo narrator ने क्या बोला था? Garo has now has gained the knowledge flow of all energy and the behavior of all fundamental forces, all forces in the universe. यही है control and ये. It's often described as the holy grail of physics, ultimate goal of TUE. TUE seek to achieve two primary forms of unification, which I explained already. Must be all fundamental force. Unified ये, unified electromy, unified electromy is hypothetical grand unified, which is not fully proven. Only two has been proven in real life. These two are just hypothetical, separate from the other three forces. The main challenge for TUE. Unification of two pillars of physics, two mathematicals framework, math field. Describe, जो कि मैंने explain कर दिया. Describe the universe on larger scale, star, galaxy, black hole, or cosmology. Study gravity geometrically as a curvature of space-time. Describe the universe on the smallest scale, atoms, subatomic particles, and 3 or 4 fundamental forces. Where physical physicists attempt to apply rules of quantum theory to gravitational field, quantitative gravity, the calculation breakdown, producing mathematically meaningless infinities. The TUE must resolve this conflict typically by posing theory of quantum gravity. Leading candidate, blast का manipulation है. Elementary particles, electrons and protons, quarks are not point-like particles but tiny over dimension vibrating each other. हमारा जो universe है ना, 3 branch से बना है. Vibrating strings, excitation strings. Different vibration mode of strings correspond to different types of particles. Gravity, strings theory naturally include massless spin 2 particles, which is hypothesizing the graviton quantum carrier of gravity. For mathematical consistency, theory requires the existence of extra spatial dimension up to 10 to 11 dimension in MEM theory and are curled up at too small to forward observe. Furthermore, Theory allow for a vast number of possible universe, string landscape, मल्टीवर्स बोल रहा है। और तुम बोलो जो व्यक्ति है क्वांटम ग्रेविटी, ये तो इंपॉर्टेंट है ही नहीं। अब ये व्हाट इज द सिनेरियो अबाउट कैरेक्टर कंट्रोल अलॉन्ग विद अंडरस्टैंडिंग फंडामेंटल फोर्स, द कैरेक्टर वेयर एबिलिटी टू fully understand control, understand control a genuine theory of everything, their power level, अब fiction के बोल रहा हूँ, power level fiction theory system which often used in theory based on destructive control would be pinnacle of hierarchy, highest peak. The character powers would essentially be unlimited and beatable within their own universe, as they would have mastery over fundamental rules that that create and govern the reality itself based on AI. Expected tier placement is the most common placement if it implies the beyond dimension limit. Also ये मैंने क्या बोला, implication of TUE control, the control of TUE grant the capability to transcend the mere physical strength or energy output. It means having conceptual layer control over reality. इंफॉर्मेशन तो बहुत पावरफुल मैनिपुलेशन है रियलिटी से। Invariability in creation. TUE's control is usually impossible to harm and could effortlessly create anything. Impossible. They could create a matter and energy from nothing or perfectly annihilate it back to the pure energy simply by solving the underlying field equation, the Einstein field theory, and implementing the new solution into reality. Just like Garo does. Causality. Causality is a fundamental concept in physics, logic, and philosophy. It describes the relationship between cause and effect. In physics, it's a principle that effect cannot occur before it cause. This concept is deeply interwoven with the nature of time, information, and the limits of physical reality, especially in the context of relativity. The core principle of causality: every effects must have preceding cause. The cause must be temporarily ordered before the effect. The simple rule is essential for maintaining the logical flow of event in the universe. अगर तुम इस लॉजिक को कोई कॉन्ट्राडिक्ट कर रहे हो ना तो नरेटिव कोई प्लॉट होल ही क्रिएट कर रहे हो। लोकेलिटी, कॉजलिटी इज जनरली कंसिडर्ड लोकल प्रिंसिपल इन फिजिक्स। स्पोकेलिटी नॉन लोकल है और तुमने दो टाइम पर दिस मीन दैट कॉज मस्ट प्रोपोगेट द थ्रू स्पेस एंड टाइम यूजुअली थ्रू इंटरैक्शन। द इफेक्ट ऑफ एक्शन इज द फर्स्ट फेल्ड इन द इमीडिएट विcinity बिफोर स्प्रेडिंग आउटवर्ड। we were causal in space time strictly enforce causality and where the concept gain is powerful physical boundary, particularly through speed of light. Schedule limit in SR, no information energy or matter can travel faster than speed of light in vacuum. This established the absolute maximum speed for propagation of cause propagation. If the event A is cause of event B, a distance between A and B must be covered in time that has no less than distance divided by speed light. Scheduling, if the event B were observed before the light signal from event A could possibly reach it, the V would be a casual with respect to A. Violation of causality, space-like separation, space-time geometry casual structure. Geometry of space-time is defined by what can casually influence what. The structure is usually using light cone, future cone, जो कि मैंने explain कर दिया। तुम पॉज करके पढ़ लो, वो देखो। causal in quantum physics, causal in quantum mechanics is subtly different but still preserved, non-locally apparent. Phenomena like quantum mechanics appears to involve instantaneous connection between distant particles, leading to apparent non-local correlation. However, while a correlation is instantaneous, it cannot be used to transmit information faster than light. Therefore, the principle of causality is upheld. Entangle cannot be used to send in message at violate the light speed limit. लेकिन कारों ने खुद कर दिया। प्रोबेबिलिटी, अगर तुम माइक्रोकॉस्मिक लेवल तक कर रहे हो तो हो जाता। क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स डिस्क्राइब इवेंट यूजिंग प्रोबेबिलिटी, causality as causality, but underlying causal structure is maintained through evolution of wave function, which is a government wave function. Narrative transparency, CPT violation, पढ़ लो। सॉरी, oh my god. सो ये मैंने पढ़ लिया इसलिए पूछ रहा हूँ. If physics were ever to discover violation of Socrates' theorem, it would be necessarily a radical reversion of our understanding of physics, potentially questioning the fundamental principle of Lorentz invariancy, core of speciality of principle. अगर वायलेट हुआ दैट वुड मीन लॉजिक रॉन्ग निकला. तो ये जो फंड एजप्शन थे ना, ये सब वो गलत निकले. दिकारो ने वही किया. कैश्मीरी इफेक्ट. तुम देख सकते हो उनके बारे में. हॉकिंस रेडिएशन, फेमन स्टुकेलबर्ग इंटरप्रिटेशन. ये क्वांटम डायग्राम में बताया गया है. मैंने बोला ना, सेंट्रल एंड मोस्ट रेडिकल आइडिया ऑफ एंटी पार्टिकल मैथमेटिकल इक्विवेलेंट टू स्टैंडर्ड पार्टिकल्स प्रोपोगेट बैकवर्ड इन टाइम. और प्रॉब्लम ये कंसर्व रखता है कोजालिटी को, नरेटिव को फिजिक्स और नरेटिव को कंसर्व रखता है ये चीज़. वही इन द फेमस डायग्राम दिस रिप्रेजेंट विच आई शोन इन द डायग्राम provide a simple rules for drawing antiparticles, represent all lines with the arrow pointing upward, forward in time and are usually upward here. Light particles, concept causality, ये फेमन डायग्राम इससे क्रिएट होता है. एक कर्व लाइन होता है, ये सब कुछ. ये तो और इम्पोर्टेंट है. दिस इज द मोस्ट क्रूशियल वन. What is MUH? Tegmark type 4 power. Mathematical human hypothesis bridge real life physics and the wideliest concept of science fiction by exerting that the universe is not as described by mathematics but is a mathematical structure. MUH is a radical philosophical position that arises from the incredible and then often baffling the success of mathematics in physics. Radical Platonism. Tegmark is exerting a form of type 4 Tegmark form of mathematical Platonism, which claims that the mathematical entity number equation structure have a real independent existence separate from human mind. MUH take the extreme step of saying this mathematical existence is equivalent to physical existence. समझे? Reality transcending the fiction. कार का पावर वही है. All fundamental properties of nature, charge, of mass, energy, and three-dimensional space, behavior of force, and ultimately described in number and equation. Tegmark argued that since the particles have no property other than this mathematical one, they must be purely mathematical power. जो व्यक्ति theory of everything manipulate कर सकता है ना, understanding वो ये कर सकता है. No parameter. Hypothesis is motivated by desire for complete theory of everything that contain no arbitrary unexplained constant. By positing that all possible consistent mathematical structure exists physically, our universe specific law are simply the law of structure we happen to inhabit. Cell of a substructure और ऐसे. अब तुम देखो, जो व्यक्ति मैनिपुलेट कर सकता है, कंट्रोल कर सकता है, अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, वो क्या कर सकता है. मल्टीवर्स, बियॉन्डर जैसे भी, बियॉन्डर से ज़्यादा पोटेंट पावर है. बियॉन्डर हमेशा ब्रूट फोर्स में ये करता है. बंदा कुछ करता है. गारो ऑलराउंडर है, ही इज अ हाइब्रिड बीन. वो ब्रूट फोर्स यूज़ कर रहा है, ये भी यूज़ कर रहा है. और मेन टॉपिक, मुझे पता नहीं how long the video is gonna take, but I am gonna explain this thing. जो क्लेम्स लगाए थे ना, ये सब बायस्ड है और इतने स्टूपिड है. ये बहुत पुराना स्टेटमेंट है. लोग ये स्टेटमेंट वो सो व्हाट गैलेक्सी लेवल है इंकरेज के लिए. मैंने क्यों बोला? क्योंकि मैं डिबंक करने वाला हूँ. रीजन ओवरलुकिंग इंटायर प्रीमाइस ऑफ कैरेक्टर नेचर. मेन थिंग दैट पावर स्केल डूइंग एट द होल टाइम, they imply fair interpretation based power scaling logic rather than narrative universe explanation visual on screen. Although narrative may contain some hyperbole statement for hyping or overstating the audience with some flashy stuff, which sometimes lead to misconception and inconsistency on better fiction. Unless author knew about tiering system and gave the proper interpret way to provide explicit explanation of how character power based on holy grain of physics. TOE, which I honestly think they should, because they must clear the uncertainty through blending the reality fiction. For example, Beyonder, especially pre-acton Beyonder, Molecular Man, one above all. Every character that I mentioned one are closely ties to TOE MUH, especially one above all. Author's Avatar, Coder. However, none of their power is accurate to TOE or MUH compared to Cosmic Garo, whose explicit rule book, real life or philosophical equivalency of theory of everything, where he firmly considered into low boundless character or boundless. Only one step behind of Saitama. खुद ही बोल रहा हूँ, putting this into your fist is the secret. Banks, water stream, rocks, smashing fist take the knowledge of the flow of energy behind raging current and tidal surge and recreate these within one body. The narrative explaining that बैंक का जो वाटर स्ट्रिंग्स फिस्ट है ना, वो एनर्जी लेता है, वो अपनी काइनेटिक एनर्जी का नॉलेज लेता है, समझ, और उसके थ्रू वो रिक्रिएट करता है अपने हाथों से. वो डिफ्लेक्शन जैसा काम करता है बचाव के लिए, डिफेंस टाइप है वो. डिफेंस या काउंटर अटैक के लिए काम आता है. नाउ गारो's ability to install copy and absorb and copy any technique is also extension of मतलब गारो का जो एब्जॉर्व करना, उनकी कॉपी करना, उसका एक पार्ट ही है एक्सटेंड वाटर स्ट्रीम स्मैशिंग रॉक का. नाउ गारो हैज गेन नॉलेज फ्लो ऑफ ऑल एनर्जी एंड बिहेवियर ऑफ ऑल फोर्स इन द यूनिवर्स. एनर्जी मतलब वर्क डन, कंट्रोल करना आता है, और नॉलेज यूनिवर्स मैकेनिज्म मैथमेटिकल अंडरस्टैंडिंग अलॉन्ग विद कंट्रोल ऑफ ग्रेविटी, इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक स्ट्रॉन्ग एंड न्यूक्लियर फोर्स. GR प्लस क्वांटम फील्ड थ्योरी एज अ मैथमेटिक फ्रेमवर्क इज इक्वल टू थ्योरी ऑफ एवरीथिंग. मैंने बोल दिया. न्यूक्लियर फ्यूजन, इसकी एक्सप्लेन करने की जरूरत नहीं है, मैंने पहले ही एक्सप्लेन कर दिया. और ये इन द मार्शल आर्ट दे आर सीक्रेट टेक्निक कॉल्ड शेंकाई दैट बोरो द पावर ऑफ नेचर बाय इमिटेटिंग द मूवमेंट ऑफ लिविंग थिंग्स. तो आई कॉल देम मॉड विच साउंड्स कूलर. हाउ दिस वन मॉड साइतामा कॉन्जिक्यूटिव नॉर्मल पंच. सी अभी ये क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स बेस्ड ये कंसेप्ट है, क्योंकि साइतामा ने ये पंच दिखाया नहीं, और उसने गारो को दिखाया होगा मारते हुए, लेकिन उसको पता नहीं था गारो को किधर मारने वाला है. उसने बावजूद भी दोनों कीप अप कर पाए साथ में, एक पंच टू पंच कॉन्सिक्यूटिव, और दोनों ने एक ही साथ में पंच खाया. शेंकाई टेक्निक, वही टेक्निक नोन एज शेंकाई इज करेक्टली रेफर टू शेंकाई विच रेफर टू बोरो सीनरी और बोरो लैंडस्केप. इट इज द Asian design principle most famously utilized the traditional Japanese and Chinese garden that evolved incorporating element of surrounding distant landscape into composition of garden or architectural space. एक मिनट guys. Back to the topic. इतना एक्सप्लेनेशन नहीं बना, but Garo extended into quantum mechanics level. When you borrow opponent's power in the spoke expedition, varies and instantly correspond to another in the same order regardless of space-like separation. No logical correlation, which follows special theory and causality where the cause must follow effect within lower equal luminous speed. No matter how powerful his opponent is, even if his conceptually overpowered, regardless of all, Garo would likely surpass him through his quantum feedback loop. Copenhagen plus spoke action distance plus exponential is equal to limitless potential growth and adaptation. In quantum mechanics fiction, in science fiction, the idea of leveraging the quantum phenomena to bypass the limits of general theory, gravity, space-time, and speed of limit. According to my formula, describe friction system that use seemingly instant correlation combined with observer-driven reality refining nature of Copenhagen interpretation, wave function collapse to create an effect that fundamentally break the classical physics, leading to concept like faster than light, travel instantaneous. और guys, ये जो व्यक्ति बोलता है ना, so what faster than light है still ये एक्चुअल कंसेप्ट है ही नहीं. जो तुम बोलते ना इन्फिनिट स्पीड, ये सब स्टिल ये रिलेटिविटी के फ्रेमवर्क में ही है. अगर तुम्हारा स्पीड ज़्यादा है, तुम स्टिल ये होता. अगर तुमने स्पीड को ही ब्रेक कर दिया, मतलब स्पेशल रिलेटिविटी थ्योरी, तुमने कॉजलिटी ब्रेक कर दिया. सिंपल बात है. क्वांटम फीडबैक लो. दिस इज द ग्रेट फिक्शन टर्म्स फॉर सिस्टम दैट लेवरेज ऑब्जर्वर इफेक्ट ऑफ ये Copenhagen interpretation to continue the right or force the specific reality. Imagine the observer is made of forcing a state, that state immediately inform the next observation, forcing a new state and so on, creating a chain reaction that could control the probability event. क्योंकि गारो को हर साइतमा का इवेंट दिख पा रहा है, क्या क्या कर रहा है, कौन सा पावर यूज कर रहा है, कैसा मच मारेगा, सब देख पा रहा है वो. और मैंने ये डायग्राम में बता दिया, तुम पढ़ लो बाद में. गामा रे बस्ट which I think which isn't necessary at all. Gamma ray burst is the most powerful class of explosion known in the universe. It plays an extremely tense, highly collimated beam of gamma ray that can last from milliseconds to several minutes. They are original from extremely energetic cosmological event in distant separate galaxy. Oh my god. The original issue with the collapse of core of the massive rapidly spinning stars, hypernova or superluminous supernova. Acha. Where the stellar core collapse, it's from black hole. Material fall into black hole, create a high speed bipolar jet along the rotational axis. It is an image from the produce propagation. Massive star, those far heavier than sun and they has infrared range. Too. It depends upon a character how increase their range of air. Normal GR is up to galaxy level, but Garo produced through his own body, it can go either way. Right now it's a galaxy level. If you Garo wanted it extend the scope of his range, it would be short range neutron star. The fact है ये लॉन्ग GR भी था. Debunking the galaxy fit claim which was labeled on series per square. मुझे उसके खाते मेरे को पूरा डायग्राम ड्रॉ करना पड़ा. I was having hard time in the black and white color क्योंकि सब लोग कंफ्यूज हो गए थे. अब मैंने ये किया. लोग बोलते हैं उन्होंने स्टार्स निकाली है. भाई क्या स्टार्स निकाले? स्टार को डिस्ट्रॉय करने में भी इज इक्वल टू MC स्क्वायर ऑबे करना पड़ता है. जब इधर लिटरली इधर एक सिंगुलैरिटी क्रिएट किया है ना, जो ब्लैक होल से भी बड़ा है, ये सीधा वॉइड क्रिएट हुआ है. और कैसे हुआ है? क्योंकि ज्योमेट्री ब्रेक हुआ है. स्पेस टाइम का ज्योमेट्री ब्रेक हुआ है. इसे कर्वेचर हुआ है, कोनिकल. मैं बोल रहा हूँ लाइट कॉन ब्रेकडाउन. मैं बोल रहा हूँ लोग समझ नहीं पा रहे. दिस इज द ब्रेकडाउन ऑफ लाइट कॉन इटसेल्फ, ज्योमेट्री ऑफ स्पेस टाइम which help to sustain the casual structure, casual relationship between space and time. Casually. वही सुनो लाइट कॉन डिफाइन स्पेस लाइक सेपरेशन इन द फ्रेमवर्क स्पेशली विद मिकोस्की. इन्होंने स्पेस टाइम डिस्ट्रॉय अपने कॉस्मोलॉजी का किया, जो कि हाई आउटर पर ट्रांसेंडेंट रहता है. उनका स्पीड, उनका स्पेस टाइम कॉजलिटी ट्रांसेंड कर दिया इस पॉइंट में. तो वही बियॉन्ड फिजिक्स, ट्रांसेंड द फिजिक्स ऑफ क्लासिकल एंड ये. क्योंकि ब्लैक होल भी क्रिएट उन्होंने सिंगुलरिटी से भी ज़्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग किया है उन्होंने. Separation delta s square between two events is defined by space like time interval, where c is the speed of light, delta t is the time difference between the event, and x is the spatial difference between the event. Timeless separation. The events are casually connected. You can travel between them slower than light. Events are connected by speed line. क्योंकि ये important है. ये दोनों इस फ्यूचर लाइट कौन और पास्ट कौन को ये करते हैं. उनका इतना ज़्यादा कैजुअल हुआ है. ये दोनों बाहर गए उसके. ये बस इधर के विडन होना चाहिए. इमेजिन करो ये लाइन है. फक. अरे यार मेरा नेट. ये साइता ये साइतामा है, गारो है, उनका जस्ट थिंक अबाउट इट, ये साइतामा गारो है, उनका स्पंज इतना ऐसा गया, उनका ऐसा नहीं गया सीधा, ऐसा भी नहीं गया। अबे फक, उनका पंच ना ऐसा नहीं गया, ना इधर ऐसा गया, सीधा ऐसा गया वो, उनका सारे स्ट्रेट ही गया वो। तो जो ये था ना दोनों का पीछे का, ये पास्ट कौन का ब्लास्ट है जैसे भी कर दिया, लेकिन फ्यूचर कौन डिस्ट्रॉय हो गया, ऑल पॉसिबल जो इवेंट्स थे वो भी डिस्ट्रॉय हो गया। स्पेस डिस्टेंस इज सो ग्रेट नॉट इवन लाइट कैन, ये जो ये ऑब्जर्वर है, सो ऑब्जर्वर मैं इधर मारने की कोशिश कर रहा, ये क्या हो रहा है ससुरा। थिंक अबाउट साइतम एंड गारो है, उनका पंच कोल्यूज हुआ, लेकिन उनका इतना फास्ट हो गया, ऐसा गया उनके स्पीड, इतना ये गया उनका स्पीड का, उनका इतना ही है, इनका एक एक इंस्टेंटेनियसली हुआ ये, दिस इज इंस्टेंटेनियस, दिस इज
कम गिरा क्या हो कल के गुजरा
इंस्टेंटेनियस। सॉरी गाइस, मेरा हैंडराइटिंग अच्छा नहीं है, लेकिन ट्राई करो। इंस्टेंटेनियसली, इंस्टेंटेनियस हुआ, की बात है ना, जनरल थ्योरी है, स्पेशल थ्योरी है, जो ये वाइड वाइड क्रिएट हुआ ना, ये सिंगुलरिटी है, बहुत बड़ा सिंगुलरिटी है। और ब्लैक होल ब्रेक डाउन होता है जीआर के बाद, क्रिएट होने के बाद सिंगुलर इवेंट हॉराइजन होना, लेकिन स्टिल ओबे करता है, वो टाइम लगता है। उन्होंने इंस्टेंटली किया, उन्होंने सीधा अपने स्पेस टाइम का ज्योमेट्री को ब्रेक कर दिया, और जो ज्योमेट्री ब्रेक करता है ना, जो ये करता है, नेट आर सो अनोइंग फॉर रियल, ये मल्टीवर्स भी नहीं है। अरे यार मैन, नेट्स आर सो अनोइंग। ओ भाई हेलो, ये कट करने वाला है, ये सीन बहुत टाइम वेस्ट कर रहा है।
One hour later.
ओ भाई हेलो, ये कट करने वाला है, ये सीन बहुत टाइम वेस्ट कर रहा है।
2 hours later.
ओके ओके, बैक टू द टॉपिक। मैंने बोला ना साइतमा गारो इधर थे और इधर ऐसे हो गए। इम्प्लीकेशन ऑफ पावर फॉर द पंच कोलिजन टू क्रिएट मैसिव एनिहिलेशन, उन्होंने सिंगुलरिटी क्रिएट किया। इंस्टेंट इंटरेक्शन, मैंने क्या बोला, द इफेक्ट ऑफ पंच कोलिजन एनिहिलेशन स्पैन्स एट अ वास्ट स्पेशल डिस्टेंस इंस्टेंटेनियसली, instantly or near instantly, I think it's near instantly. Superlunar causality, the force effect of propagated by collision is faster than light, वही वेलोसिटी ज़्यादा हो गया था उनका, काइनेटिक रेंज ज़्यादा हो गया था उनका, सीधा बोलूँ तो। इफ देर punching through the fabric of space-time instantaneously destroying or wrapping the point that were previously far apart, they are creating a space-like interval between 2 points, origin of force at distant age of annihilation। जैसे कि ये देखो, स्मॉल था लेकिन उन्होंने इतना ये कर दिया, पावर स्केलिंग। कंक्लूजन, दिस कन्फर्म्स साइतमा गारो's पावर ऑपरेटिंग हाईएस्ट कंसेप्चुअल टियर, एबिलिटी एनाहिलेशन, causality temper of their own cosmology. Saitama and Garo impose the space-like separation effect through physical strike. It is physically impossible. It's fundamentally capable of strike, breaking the causality within their narrative 4D quantum. They are punching the light cone. Now people think be like, no. This is just a countless star or galaxy. Therefore, Saitama and Cosmic Garo are galaxy level. Buddy, the narrative except stated through Geno's dialogue by saying the Saitama Sensei. Based on relative theory, your punch may reach the superluminum speed by going event beyond event horizon. क्योंकि ब्लैक होल क्रिएट नहीं हुआ, सीधा स्ट्रेट सिंगुलैरिटी क्रिएट हुआ. एक बिग रिप्चर हुआ स्पेस टाइम में, यूनिवर्स में. उसमें सब कंसेप्ट गया, पूरा ज्योमेट्री गया, जनरल थ्योरी. उन्होंने सीधा अपने मैकेनिज्म, यूनिवर्स मैकेनिज्म को ब्रेक डाउन कर दिया है. मैथमेटिक्स ब्रेक किया उन्होंने, लॉरेंस फैक्टर ब्रेक किया. देखो जेनोस ने ऐसा नहीं बोला स्पेस टाइम, ये उन्होंने जेनोस ने कंसेप्ट यूज किया है. एक्चुअल द स्पंज ये देखो, यू मे रीच द सुपरलुमिनम, यू मे ट्रांसेंड योर पंच ट्रांसेंड द स्पीड ऑफ लाइट बाय गोइंग इवेंट हॉराइजन एंड इंक्रीज इनफाइनाइट मास इज द इशू. रिलेटिविटी मोमेंटम मैंने एक्सप्लेन किया था, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट था. E is equal to mc square violation. That a serious punch is not certain whether laws of physics can apply. Me when the Saitama and Garos casually disconnect each other physically. What Geno said that the logic of conceptual breakdown. Superluminum infinite mass. The core part of logic lies in Lorentz factor, light, gamma, relativity effect. जैसे देखें Minkowski space time at the speed of the object with the rest mass approach speed of light, the factor gamma approach infinity. The relativity mass and momentum of the object become infinite. Friction implication. Saitama and Cosmic Garo cause a space-like separation through physical punch without being instantly converted into black hole infinite mass or destroying themselves. Means they are not simply accelerating their physical body, they are imposing a force that ignores the bypass the gamma itself, light itself. मतलब space time और ये सब कुछ. They are not subjected to the mass change equivalency. मैंने बोला this is the combination of high outer worlds character whose powers come from place outside the established space time. और तो फैक्ट है वो बाउंडलेस जा सकते क्योंकि उन्होंने भला ही सीरियस था, उन्होंने नॉन चैलेंजली किया, उन्होंने एफर्टलेसली उन्होंने क्रिएट किया, उनको ताकत लगा भी नहीं. गोइंग बियॉन्ड इवेंट हॉराइजन. General theory, the region inside the black hole event horizon defined by space-time being so curved, the future singularity, all paths within the light cone lead inward. In this scenario, Geno सही बोला, the coordinates of x, y, z time was falling, matter appears superluminous distant observer and locally space itself is falling faster than light. तो प्रॉब्लम ये हुआ कि सिंगुलैरिटी क्रिएट, ब्लैक होल नहीं क्रिएट हुआ एक्चुअल में, ब्लैक होल से भी वो ज़्यादा वो क्रिएट हुआ. लाइट कोरोन ज्योमेट्री के यहाँ जो मेडिएट करता है मिंकोस्की स्पेस टाइम को, कर्व्ड के वजह से इतना कर्व हो गया था उनका पंच, उनके इतना काइनेटिक एनर्जी क्रिएट हो गया था और काइनेटिक एनर्जी से पोटेंशियल एनर्जी में कन्वर्ट हो गया उनका, इसलिए जो सिंगुलैरिटी क्रिएट हुआ. Saitama and Garo's character don't need a black hole curvature and they are creating a space-time discontinuity himself through pure physical power. और conical inertia act like a imposed massive localized rupture in metric. वही बोल रहा maths measurement causalization between Saitama and Cosmic Garo and destroy the served that they haven't just wrapped the space-time. They analyze the coordinate system and general theory within the volume. This is why their power level is considered transcendent. They can operate outside the very dimensional rules that define their universe geometry. और ये इंपॉर्टेंट है, वाई साइतम इज अनक्वांटिफाइड बियॉन्ड पावर स्केलिंग सिस्टम एंड डिफीट गारो कॉस्मिक गारो डिस्प्ले एम्बॉडिंग द टीवी. कंसेप्चुअल क्लैश, बाउंडलेस मैथमेटिक्स वर्सेस बाउंडलेस सोसाइटी. My frame place both characters firmly in boundless range with the ability of personification of fundamental law concept. Garo embodied the mathematical predictive framework and Saitama embodying the absolute unpredictable boundlessness. Low doubt line but grew exponentially. Limitless mimicry through theory of everything. Garo treats Saitama like a quantum system, perceiving the clouds of probability, wave function PSI for Saitama next section momentum and energy. He then measure or observe this wave function to collapse it into definite state, the bond rule, and instantly mimic the state that is slightly stronger than measured state. Limit decoherency. The key, the four which I highlight decoherency. Instant Garo measures Saitama state, he measuring the past state that take the information from the field. Delay. Even the information is transferred instantaneous due to EPI paradox. The mere act of measurement fixes that state in the time and space. वही ना, बस वो इंफॉर्मेशन डिले हो रहा था. इम्बॉडी है पाउंड. ये एक्यूरेट नहीं, मैंने वो एक्यूरेट वाला वो ग्राफ मैंने नेक्स्ट स्लाइड में मैंने ये किया है. Saitama growth is a state of continuous superposition and high-certainty Heisenberg. Every movement, every emotional scourge, every action is unmeasured and collapsed quantum event that instantly resolve into exponential higher baseline power than previous one. और प्लीज कुछ फैंस है गोकू साइतामा का ग्रोथ को ना ब्रूली से कंपेयर करते हैं. भाई ब्रूली फाइटिंग है वाला है. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि साइतामा इवॉल्व होते जा रहा है हर दम. वो प्रोएक्टिवली रिवॉल्ट होते जा रहा है. गारो कीप अप क्यों नहीं कर पा रहा है? क्योंकि गारो का मैच फेल होते जा रहा है. सेयंस एंड प्लीज आई डोंट वांट टू क्रिएट एनी सम dispute among the DBS community and OPM community. This I already disclaimer to you all that this video is regarding to constructive flaws on the power scaling system. Immeasurable is potential to infinity, that is constantly increase based value. तुमको बोलूँ साइतामा इतना ग्रो होते जा रहा था, उसका मैच ही ब्रेक कर दिया है. देखो ना, देयर वाज नो लॉन्गर इवन लेफ्ट टू मेजर व्हाट लेवल साइतामा स्ट्रेंथ हैड रीच. नैरेटिव सबमिट एट दिस पॉइंट. नैरेटिव ने खुद ही बोला साइतामा मेजर हो ही नहीं सकता, वो पूरा ट्रू बाउंडलेस है, वो मैच के बाहर है. गारो मैच को मास्टर किया है, वो ब्रेक कर सकता है लेकिन वो भी वो बाउंस करता है. हिज एक्सपोनेंशियल ग्रोथ सीन्स एज अ ग्राफ इज एट कैजुअल नॉन मैथमेटिकल फेनोमेनल. गारो कंडीशनली है. As seen in the Mangal with graph is positive. ये देखा, दिख रहे होंगे आपको. To defeat गारो का पावर स्ट्रॉन्ग है नहीं. ही वॉज पैराडॉक्स की वजह से हार गया बेचारा. क्वांटम फेलियर, ये तो और इम्पोर्टेंट है. गारोस पावर of mimicry can be precisely described Copenhagen interpretation of mechanism leading to fatal flow. Decoherence in the face of infinite superposition. Garo's mimicry worked like an act of measurement. Garo, with his knowledge of universe mechanism, theory of everything, was attempted to apply Bond rule, probability to system and rejected. Saitama's state of the infinite superposition, his physical property, energy, moment, or position, exists as a vast continuous clause of probability, wave function, PSI. Garo's action. Garo technique analysis requires him to observe or measure Saitama's state. To collapse this clause of infinite probability into one different state. Saitama's energy is X. Bond rule. Garo used the definite state X and Bond rule to calculate necessary counterpunch X plus delta 1 to slightly surpass Saitama. Decoherency. Decoherency is the process where the quantum system loses coherency, its superposition due to interaction with environment. It's effectively fix the state in time. वही वो जो साइतम वही गारो moment गारो perform this calculation set is power X plus delta. He's basing it on the past measurement of Saitama state. The speed of Garo calculation though instantaneous to us still event in the causal chain. नहीं ये मैंने गलत कर दिया था, वो दूसरे बिजी था. इवेंट कैजुअल चेन गारो भला ही ब्रेक कर सकता है लेकिन साइतामा कंटिन्यू नॉन लीनियर सुपरविजन हाइजेनबर्ग. साइतामा on conversely embodying the Heisenberg uncertainty principle and continue as causal to that rigid decoherency. Uncertainty principle that stated the certain pairs of physical property like position momentum cannot both be known with arbitrary precision. अभी ये एक्सपोनेंशियल ग्रोथ है. गारो मेजर करता है इसको, ये सब ब्लूल, ये सब कुछ. साइतामा का इमोशनल मैसिव इंक्रीज करता है इस पावर इंस्टेंटली रीच ये. बाय द टाइम गारो परफेक्ट कैलकुलेट पंच नाइट सीटिंग द व्हिच ऑलरेडी इमर्जिंग एक्सपोनेंशियल हायर देन गारो. तो साइतामा हमेशा एक कदम आगे रहेगा साइतामा गारो से, और एक कदम बहुत ज़्यादा होगा. क्वांटम लेवल तो हद से ज़्यादा है. मैथ ऑफ डिफीट, मास्टर ऑफ लॉज ऑफ यूनिवर्स. Garo is meant to be breaking static, even the state is infinite fixed. Quantifiable value based on past free of wavelength. While Saitama power is infinite accelerating exponential function that operate casual and non-linear, however, staying one constituent step ahead. Garo was defeated by lack of measurement state limit. This is why, despite Garo's mastery of theory of everything, he was completely washed TOE cannot account for variable that has no limit. मैं exaggerate नहीं कर रहा हूँ, narrative ने खुद ही बोला है. क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स ब्रेकडाउन. तो ऐसा हुआ था गारो के साथ. मैं ये एक्सप्लेन कर नहीं सकता, मैंने पहले ही एक्सप्लेन कर चुका हूँ, तुम पढ़ लो. Garo is trapped in the loop. He can only ever to equal to Saitama parcel, but current Saitama is already infinite greater than his immediate parcel. The means Garo limited is function limited by measurement for reliance. Feedback loop. Loop describes a system with the output of one component instantly became the input for a next, resulting continuous often exponential acceleration system state. मैंने क्या बोला? Loops work like this. Input. Cosmic Garo measure the Saitama current state. ये loop इसके लिए ही दिया है, feedback loop. जो ग्राफ इसके लिए ही दिया है वो ऐसा ही काम करता है. Garo's output mimic exponential growth. Garo's TOE ability instantly calculate and mimic the state, setting his own power to be slightly greater than Saitama's data. Input response. Saitama emotions curves triggered by necessity of fight and his presence of strong opponent. Instantly accelerate his own power in response to it. अब देखो साइतामा जब भी स्ट्रॉन्ग ओपोनेंट से लड़ेंगे ना उसका ऐसा ही होगा. और फैक्ट ये गारो इतना ब्रूटली हारा है ना साइतामा के वजह से, इतना हारा है ना साइतामा अगेंस्ट कि उसका पावर ही काम नहीं कर पाया. गारो मेटाफिक्शन जो प्लॉट मैनिपुलेशन करता है, मैं एग्जैजरेट कर रहा हूँ, आई नो आई एम एग्जैजरेटिंग. जो व्यक्ति प्लॉट मैनिपुलेशन कर सकता है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल कॉस्मिक आर्मर सुपरमैन ओवरराइड की वजह से दिया, वो थॉट ऑफ रोबोट, वो कुछ भी कर सकता है, कॉज ऑथर से सो. गारो एक प्लॉट होल क्रिएट कर सकता है, पैराडॉक्स, जिसकी इसका लॉजिक है ना वो कॉन्ट्राडिक्ट कर सकता है. फीडबैक लूप क्वांटम टेक्निक ईपीआर पैराडॉक्स जैसे ही काम करता है. लूप कंटिन्यू. साइतामा न्यू हायर पावर स्टेट became next input for Garo measurement. Again, only for Saitama to immediately surpass the next level. This continuous exchange what created exponential growth curve for both character. और फैक्ट ये दाना होगा ये कर रहे हैं. While both character इंटीग्रेट ये देखो तुम कार देखो, ये दिखाया गया उन्होंने डिपेंडेंट. गारो हमेशा ग्रोथ, इसका ग्रोथ रिएक्टिव रहा लेकिन उसका जो मिमिक्री वो प्रोएक्टिव था. साइतामा ग्रोथ प्रोएक्टिव इज ट्रिगर्ड बाय हिज इंटरनल कैजुअल इमोशनल स्टेट एंड इज नो मैथमेटिकल बाउंस बाय गारो सेक्शन. जैसे कि ये मांगा पैनल, वो शायद एग्जैक्ट पैनल बनाया मैंने, भाई मुश्किल लगा मेरे को. एक्सेस डिनोट अ प्रोपगेशन ऑफ फाइट और मोर स्पेसिफिक डिस्क्रीट मूवमेंट गारो अटेम्प्ट टू मेजर मिमिक Saitama power. Each step along the x-axis can be considered quantum time interval delta t or iteration of quantum feedback loop which discussed. Negative implication for Garo, this is the casual timeline within which he is able to operate. U power magnitude. This axis indicates the absolute level power. The level expectation is crucial, signifying that both characters are growing not linearly but accelerating rate. Suna. The sheer effect of this implies normal unit of power. Planetary galaxies are no longer sufficient. The power is measured on outer scale, outwards to boundless, where the very concept of Garo ka line. The Garo show a very steep, continue uptrending, suggesting immense and rapid growth. However, it eventually start to visibly flatten relative to Saitama curve. And even with this construct graph, it doesn't lead a frame that dramatically. What is explained? Dramatically. Not truly limitless. Despite Garo's claim of unlimited growth and mastery of theory of everything, his growth is bounded by a fixed rate constant, which is in the exponential function. He can only ever reach the point slightly above the measurement of Saitama past power. His curve is ties into x-axis, time interval. He needs a time interval to process the information and increase his power, meaning he always playing catch up to Saitama current state. The decoherency decoherency is a action. Relative flattening demonstrated is quantum measurement and mimicry while powerful cause of the decoherency. Collapse into reference state that then require new measurement to grow further. अपर नियर ये साइतामा का क्या है स्टेट बदलती जा रहा है ब्रोली मैं क्यों निकाल रहा हूँ मैं गलती से निकल गया ब्रोकली नहीं बोल रहा मैंने मेरे फैमिली ने ब्रोकली बनाया भाजी इसलिए बोला शेप साइतामा कर इनिशियली स्टीव देन गारो ऊपर गया वो ब्रेक इसके बाहर गया ये ठीक से मन नहीं पाया लेकिन बहुत अच्छा किया मैंने बट देन बिकेम ऑलमोस्ट परफेक्टली वर्टिकल शूटिंग ऑफ द टॉप ऑफ द बार दिस इज द मोस्ट क्रिटिकल विजुअल एलिमेंट जो बताया था ये वाला ये जो ब्राइट दिखा रहा है बार के बाहर ही गया The line literally leave the grab signified that Saitama power has no measurable limits. He is not growing. He is growing and illogical. भाई बंदे का illogical है जो व्यक्ति logically है तो उसको क्यों power scaling लगा रहे हो and cannot be contained by a very mathematical framework to the graph. A casual code. A near vertical slope represent fraction delta E and delta T to the fraction infinity. दिख रहा है तुमको तो infinite in energy increase over non-existent for infinitesimally small time interval. This visually break the causality and concept sequential quantum time interval. Heisenberg uncertainty. Saitama is inherently unmeasurable system. Garo who relies on measuring and calculating is defeated by the power that exists outside very probable possibility of movement. Narrative through the graph, manga panel graph is a brilliant visual summary of Murata's entire philosophical battle. Garo represents ultimate peak of quantification logical power with a theoretical framework. Even that framework includes a casual quantum effect. His growth, though immense, is ultimately predictable and therefore limited by his own rule. Yeah, Saitama represents an anomaly that defines all quantification and logic. His power, his existence is itself a paradox, which we call the gag character, gag nature, joke. Truly boundless, breaking not just broad limits but the very rules of physics its attempt to illustrate.
असंभव असंभव बेचौद असंभव और अभी तो रुको क्लाइमैक्स अभी बाकी है
Decoherency is a action. Relative flattening demonstrated is quantum measurement and mimicry while powerful cause of the decoherency. Collapse into reference state that then require new measurement to grow further. Upper near ये साइतामा का क्या है स्टेट बदलती जा रहा है ब्रोली मैं क्यों निकाल रहा हूँ मैं गलती से निकल गया ब्रोकली नहीं बोल रहा मैंने मेरे फैमिली ने ब्रोकली बनाया भाजी इसलिए बोला शेप साइतामा कर इनिशियली स्टीव देन गारो ऊपर गया वो ब्रेक इसके बाहर गया ये ठीक से मन नहीं पाया लेकिन बहुत अच्छा किया मैंने बट देन बिकेम ऑलमोस्ट परफेक्टली वर्टिकल शूटिंग ऑफ द टॉप ऑफ द बार दिस इज द मोस्ट क्रिटिकल विजुअल एलिमेंट जो बताया था ये वाला ये जो ब्राइट दिखा रहा है बार के बाहर ही गया The line literally leave the graph signified that Saitama power has no measurable limits. He is not growing. He is growing and illogical. भाई बंदे का illogical है जो व्यक्ति logically है तो उसको क्यों power scaling लगा रहे हो and cannot be contained by a very mathematical framework to the graph. A casual code. A near vertical slope represent fraction delta E and delta T to the fraction infinity. दिख रहा है तुमको तो infinite in energy increase over non-existent for infinitesimally small time interval. This visually break the causality and concept sequential quantum time interval. Heisenberg uncertainty. Saitama is inherently unmeasurable system. Garo who relies on measuring and calculating is defeated by the power that exists outside very probable possibility of movement. Narrative through the graph, manga panel graph is a brilliant visual summary of Murata's entire philosophical battle. Garo represents ultimate peak of quantification logical power with a theoretical framework. Even that framework includes a casual quantum effect. His growth, though immense, is ultimately predictable and therefore limited by his own rule. Yeah, Saitama represents an anomaly that defines all quantification and logic. His power, his existence is itself a paradox, which we call the gag character, gag nature, joke. Truly boundless, breaking not just broad limits but the very rules of physics its attempt to illustrate. Chorus ultimate feast of invention. This is the most crucial one. लोग बोले नहीं so what? साइतामा ने बस टाइम ट्रैवल किया, वन टाइम इवेंट है, he still bonds to space time. लोगों ये मामूली टाइम ट्रेवल था नहीं, वो सीटीसी था जो कि वायलेट करता था कॉजलिटी स्पेस टाइम को, और ये इविटेबल है क्योंकि उसने क्वांटम लेवल तक किया, और क्वांटम लेवल तक क्या है, प्रोबेबिलिटी में रहता कॉजलिटी। तो देखो गारो ने क्रिएट हुआ पैराडॉक्स, वो स्ट्रॉन्ग पैराडॉक्स है, मतलब अपने नैरेटिव की गांड मारा उसने, प्लॉट होल क्रिएट किया गारो ने। टू ऑफ देम वेयर इमेजिनिंग देयर ओन इनर यूनिवर्स, और ये एक पॉकेट डायमेंशन, इट्स नॉट अ पॉकेट डायमेंशन, ये गारो क्रिएट इज ओन एक्सटर्नल यूनिवर्स विथ अ न्यू मैथ इक्वेशन, एक्स्ट्रा इक्वेशन। और गारो ने जो किया है ना, ये सीपीटी वायलेशन है, उसने फेमन डायग्राम से एंटी पार्टिकल पार्टिकल्स क्रिएट कर दिए, गामा कैट से पेयर प्रोडक्शन हुआ, और पेयर प्रोडक्शन से दोनों पार्टिकल्स करस्पॉन्ड हो रहे, डार्क और ये स्पूकी एक्शन में, क्योंकि स्पूकी एक्शन है, ये दिख रहा है ना डरावना, ये स्पूकी एक्शन है। ये दोनों टेम्पोरल ऑर्डर है, ये टेम्पोरल और नॉन लोकल में रखा है, और ये क्वांटम लेवल तक है, और तो ये प्रोबेबिलिटी कॉजलिटी होगा। इसमें वो इन्फिनिट साइतामा गारो को इन्फिनिट स्टोरी दिखेगा, अभी बोलता मैं। एंड व्हेन ऑल ऑफ द सबऑर्डिनेट पार्टिकल इनसाइड साइतामा डिड दिस, साइतामा बॉडी अभी एक कैच पैराडॉक्स हो गया, फिजिक्स बेस्ड पैराडॉक्स हो गया, फिजिक्स बेस्ड पैराडॉक्स सीटीसी पैराडॉक्स ही है। आई कैन बिलीव दिस गारो, योर मास्टर्स आर ऑसम। ये गारो को दिख रहा है ना, साइतामा को दिख रहा है ना, वो इन होलोग्रामिक में वो एक हाइट, वो इसके बाहर है, कॉजलिटी के बाहर है, वो स्पेस टाइम और कॉजलिटी के, वो लाइट कॉम के बाहर है सीधा, उसको सारे अपने काम कार्ड दिख रहे, उसके ऑल हिस्ट्री दिख रहे, ऑल पॉसिबल हिस्ट्री। उस गारो ने ना इस दोनों पार्टिकल्स के प्रॉपर्टीज बहुत सारे सुपरफिशियल में रहते, उससे उसने कैलकुलेट किया प्रोबेबिलिटी एम्पलीट्यूड। ये देखो, ये बोल रहा हूँ, ये देखो साइतामा ने डिजास्टर लेवल, ये क्योंकि होलोग्राफी में था ये हुआ। थैंक यू प्लेबैक, मतलब वो टाइम प्रेजेंट टाइमलाइन that punch abnormally power of a moon of Jupiter went back in time and land before its throne. This was absolutely unavoidable, absolute reversal of causality। ये ट्रू है, ये लिटरली कॉजलिटी को ट्रांसलेट कर दिया है। ये देखो what Garo did based on image, मैं बोल रहा हूँ, he created his universe first. Garo created his own quantum field theory through imagination, imagination turning his body into field of infinite particles, fundamental particles, electrons, quarks, protons and Higgs. This is a type 1 conceptual manipulation, could be reality transcendency. He is not just manipulating matter, he defining the underlying mathematical concept of physics, his own quantum field. ये MUH hypothesis है that govern the matter. By making a new quantum field theory in universe, he demonstrated his consciousness and power operate at a level above the quantum field theory and general theory that govern the universe. The framework of reality is now subordinate, reciprocate to his will and imagination. Violation of CPT, ये important है। गारो यूज इलेक्ट्रो वीक यूनिफिकेशन मेथड, क्योंकि वीक फंडामेंटल फोर्स ऐसा फंडामेंटल फोर्स है जो फेवर चेंज करता है और जो सीपीटी वायलेट भी करता है। सी तो वैसे ही कर दिया, उससे क्या क्रिएट पार्टिकल्स एंटी पार्टिकल पेयर्स दैट वायलेट द सीपीटी सिमेट्री बाय कंट्रोलिंग सी पी एंड टी ऑन द नॉन लोकल कोरिलेट बेसिक। उसको क्या कंडीशन फंडामेंटल लॉ ऑफ वायलेशन कॉजलिटी मैनिपुलेशन, द रेट्रोग्रेड टी वायलेशन नेचर ऑफ एंटी पार्टिकल कोप विद द नॉन लोकल कोरिलेशन पी वर्स एंड क्रिएट कैजुअल लूप एंड पैराडॉक्स। इसको हाई आउटर बस करना था क्योंकि गारो ने खुद ही क्रिएट किया। इज अ पीने का हाईएस्ट सीटीसी इंटेंगलमेंट एट अ मोस्ट फाउंडेशनल लेवल, मैनिपुलेट फ्लो ऑफ टाइम एंड कॉजलिटी फॉर इंटायर यूनिवर्स हॉलमैक by explicitly referring electroweak unification. Garo's operating at level energy level corresponding to earliest moment of energy. Cosmic radiation वही काम करता है, confirming his mastery over standard model which is the step towards the TOE meta बोले ना। एंड साइतामा एंड कॉस्मिक गारो ऑब्जर्व इंटायर फाइट इंक्लूडेड टाइम फ्लो इन द होलोग्रामिक इमेज। लोगों ने क्या हुआ टाइम ट्रेवल में होलोग्रामिक इमेज नहीं दिखता भाई। लोग होलोग्रामिक कब दिखे तुम हाई डायमेंशन रहते, मतलब कोलैसिटी के बाहर रहते हो, कॉजिंग द इंटायर फाइट इनटू कोलैप्स और ब्रेक द स्कैटरिंग इंफॉर्मेशन, क्योंकि जो सर्टन उनके हिस्ट्री थे ना सब स्कैटर हुए थे, उनके इलेक्ट्रॉन पोस्ट्रॉन ये सब कुछ इंफॉर्मेशन यार की। द होलोग्रामिक प्रिंसिपल सजेस्ट द यूनिवर्स इज द प्रोजेक्शन 3D projection. By perceiving the universe as a hologramic image, information on lower dimension boundary, the character demonstrate they exist on layer qualitatively superior to the entire informational reality. Quantum collapse. Punching the image of metaphysical wave function collapse. The entire history, present and infinite possible future Feynman diagram. Position of fight are reduced to nothing or control outcome solely by act of will measurement from higher plane of existence. Mean that can view in entire reality that can own existence supervisionify ये उनका possible state, potential state and destroy the supervision by merely interacting with this merge. It considered to merge हो गया Saitama. It is relevant to dimension ये गारो Saitama इतना ही है. Saitama illogical था, गारो logically omnipotent था. With a character action govern information framework is basic of ये. Garo's ability not just be like destroying infinite universe, they are conceptual transcendent. देखो क्योंकि साइतामा ने नॉन चैलेंजली किया, वो बंदे को समझ नहीं आ रहा क्या हो रहा है, उस बंदे ने बस पंच किया बस. ही पंच टू हार. इन द केस ऑफ साइतामा ही पंच टू हार, ही ब्रूटली ब्रोक द मैथमेटिक एंड पैराडॉक्स. उसे पैराडॉक्स ब्रेक किया. सीडीज एक पैराडॉक्स है फिजिक्स बेस्ड. इंस्टेड ऑफ प्लॉट मैनेजमेंट मेटा गारो क्रिएटेड फिजिक्स बेस्ड पैराडॉक्स व्हिच मेड द लॉजिक contradiction inconsistent of his meta narrative structure cosmology which make a huge plot hole. गारो ने प्लॉट होल क्रिएट किया था और प्लॉट होल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बहुत क्रूशियल रहता भाई. प्लॉट होल क्रिएट हो गया, तुमको सीधा ऑथर को सीधा न्यू सीरीज बनाना पड़ेगा क्योंकि नेक्स्ट लेवल प्लॉट होल रेक्टन करना पड़ेगा सीधा, क्योंकि ये कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन हुआ ना, लॉजिक खराब हो. Garo, by achieving theory of everything, mastering weaponize a famous statue interpretation, extremely force the casual paradox into reality. Paradox, the creation of closed time-like curve, entangled space-like separation, make the concept of past, present, future logically consistent. Effect on cosmology. This is a powerful idea. It's a structure inconsistent that manifests the huge plot hole in the series cosmology. That means the character power is so fundamental it causes the very rules of narrative, continuity clause, effect logic to fall. लॉजिक इंपॉर्टेंट रहता है प्लॉट मैनिपुलेशन के लिए. अगर तुम भले ही तुमको पता है तुम कॉमिक में हो, तुम कॉमिक मैनिपुलेट कर सकते हो, उस पर लॉजिक है. गारो ने लॉजिक ही किया. गारो को कोई ऐसा मेटा अवेयरनेस नहीं चाहिए, उसको बस पैराडॉक्स क्रिएट करना है, खत्म काम. उसने एक वो ही बनाया, फ्लो बनाया टू कॉज अ लॉजिकल कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन मेटा नैरेटिव structure. Means the characters operating at the level that transcend the foundation rules that define the reality. Structure is the definition of tier 0 entity, the being whose powers cannot be contained or quantified by the dimension or conceptual flow of his own fiction. Reasoning paradox. Saitama ने non-chalently किया. Saitama not only copied the paradox creating technique but immediately gained full control over resulting paradox. He then used this control to perform an absolute reverse of causality, जो कि paradox है. If Garo Fit was generating a cosmological flow, Saitama Fit is resolving weaponize it. He utilized universe making paradox to achieve the control, localized effect, saving genus and changing the timeline. उसने हिस्ट्री चेंज कर दिया. हिस्ट्री चेंज करना बहुत बड़ी बात है. दिस डेमोन्स्ट्रेटेड साइतामा's power is not just sufficient to break the cosmology rule, but enforce a new temporary ability rules based on his will, even those violate the fundamental logic of settings. और जेनस का स्टेटमेंट. Why Genus in your explanation still hold my argument and debunk all those false claims which were labeled by power scalers. टेक मार. मैंने गलती कर दी. It's a merely hypothesis based on so-called parallel worlds or multiverse theory. ये टेगमार टाइप 3 मल्टीपल कंसेप्ट है. दिस इज बेस्ड ऑन मेनी वर्ल्ड इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑफ क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स. दिस इंटरप्रिटेशन सजेस्ट दैट एवरी टाइम ए क्वांटम इवेंट multiple occur, the universe split or branch into parallel universe, with each outcome being realized in different branches. Higher outcomes due to the connection of Hilbert space or wave function of infinite possible state. I suspect that this core came from one of the countless parallel world that Dower as a result of action. I do not know at what point this divergence occur when the observer make a decision or when the observer take the action, but it has been confirmed that new you separate from the original you and the ये, क्योंकि इससे पैराडॉक्स ब्रेक किया, उसने रिजॉल्व भी किया, साथ में उसने फ्लो निकाल के रिजॉल्व भी कर दी. सेपरेट at the start of your time travel and merge with you from this timeline when the movement was complete. The timing of this separation and merging may be clue to the timing of when the future parallel split off. Back to what I'm saying, in the future where this core came from, I was killed by Garo. Even if you were holding back great deal, there is no way that you could have been outplayed by Garo, क्योंकि वो कर सकता है. No matter how many parallel worlds exist, and in fact the events surrounding the core have made it clear. मतलब कितना भी फिक्शन में रहो, तुम कितना भी टाइम प्लॉट मैनिपुलेट करो, ये करो, साइतामा का हारना इविटेबल नहीं है. साइतामा हार ही नहीं सकता. इसलिए खुद ही बोला है. जेनो हिमसेल्फ सेड इट. मैं कोई बोल रहा नहीं हूँ, वो जेनोस खुद ही बोला है. लोग जेनस को वो हाइपर वो हेटर वही इग्नोर करते. मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा. मैं नाउ माई सडनली माई पर्सनल फीलिंग्स आर अपसर्चिंग राइट नाउ कि अनलिशिंग core have made it clear even the worst outcome had occurred with the death of me and all the other heroes right before your eyes. You would have transcended space and time to save us all. Your ability to transcend and manipulate the laws of causality is now proof positive of your complete flawless sense of heroism. Flawless, नॉन चैलेंटली किया. गारो ने भले ही किया था लेकिन उसको थोड़ा करना पड़ा कैलकुलेट. गारो को कैलकुलेट करना पड़ा. साइतामा ने नन कॉल के बस क्या है पंच मारो खत्म. उसने ऐसा किया बस. As we come to the expect from you, Sensei. As for a principle, fall into one of the three scenarios. The first one is based on theory of everything, surpassing the speed of light beyond even horizon. Increased mass is the issue of your serious punch. Is not certain whether with the laws of physics can be applied. Light can't break down. मैंने बोला. Thanks for your cooperation. That would be the one heck of video and with the filled with the yapping session. लेकिन it was crucial for you all. क्योंकि लोग वन पंच मैन को नेक्स्ट लेवल डाउन प्ले करते हैं. थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग.